melt is when I'm ocean waves.
Today on Noble Legends podcast, I have Shenandoah Coach Nick Doyle, who in just his second year at Shenandoah has given him their first winning record since I believe 2008, which is very hard to do. Coach, great to meet you. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Just excited to meet you and be able to talk a little bit about Shenandoah.
Yeah, well, hopefully we talk a lot about it, man. So let me get your background a little bit, and you correct me when if I say something that's wrong. You're from Franklin, Virginia, but you went to Southampton. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Went to Southampton High School, right on 58 down near Suffolk, Chesapeake, that area.
So you went to the next county over to go to high school. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just a little bit better opportunity for me, a little bit bigger school, just a better fit for me.
It wasn't because the smell of paper drove you out.
That's still there though. We drive through there often. It's still there.
Still there, yeah. I was in a wedding. I was in a wedding in Franklin one time. A lovely town. It's something that I'd never experienced. But you went to you played at Southampton, and then you end up going to Virginia Wesleyan. Graduated in 2016. Got to a Final Four, 27-6. You're a major contributor on that team. You're captain your senior year. Then you played for great Dave Macedo, and then you got into coaching right away. You worked at Lynchburg, and then you went to Wilkes in Pennsylvania, and then you went as assistant for a long time, or you're a young guy, but relatively long time at Virginia Wesleyan, and then in 2022 became the head coach at Shenandoah, and you've been there for 2 years. First year, and as I said before, you had a 17-10 record this year after 11-0 start. And I think probably the first time you guys were rated in the top 20 for many, many years. Coach, did I get most of that right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. You're on top of it, man. The only thing, most people, it's not really in the bio stuff, is I went to Delaware State for 2 years, played there 2 years out of high school, then transferred into Virginia Wesleyan.
I'm sorry, Mike.
No, go ahead.
Delaware State used to be a predominantly black school, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's HBCU, yeah.
Oh, that's wow. How was that?
2 years, 2 years at Del State, and it's a interesting story with that one. I actually committed to Virginia Wesleyan out of high school, paid my deposit and everything, and then about a month later, Delaware State came calling, and I'm like every kid, want that dream of playing at the highest level, Division I. So, went up there and things worked out, and just wasn't until after 2 years. I love the school, I love my teammates and everything. Just wasn't what I really wanted my career to be about. Kind of finishing in the middle of the pack, every year. I wanted to be a part of something really special. So then I had the chance to go back to Virginia Wesleyan and obviously make a Final Four in my first year there. And instantly, I was just satisfied. This is what I want to be about. So and then playing for Coach Macedo just really helped me kind of develop my coaching and really get my foot in the door for everything.
Yeah. Well, I want to get back to that, but I want to start with, in the, I guess it was the first game, Kentucky, one and done Kentucky lost to a team I had never heard of, Oakland, in the first game with a player named Jack Gelke, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Guy hit 10 3-pointers on him. Here's a guy who only started 1 year really at Hillsdale. Division II school, and it wasn't like he had dominated his whole career, but as a 24-year-old player now, he's a man now. What do you think about what's going on in college basketball now? Now, most of the favorites have survived. There were some upsets early, but I think most of the seeded teams have survived. But isn't it strange or exciting what's going on where you have these older players now who are, because of the portal, the COVID year, are able to transfer to places, and they're playing against kids much younger than them that one day could be playing in the NBA where they have no chance ever playing in the NBA. They're already 22, 23, 24 years old. So what do you think about what's going on in college basketball right now? Is it pretty exciting?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great. I think you're seeing players being able to maybe get more exposure than they did kind of growing up out of high school. Golke, clearly a Division I player. But for whatever reasons, didn't have those opportunities. But now he had that chance and he earned it. So I think it's cool. I'm all about player mobility and going where you want to go. Especially, us as coaches can go where we want to go, right? But I do think that the best programs typically have older guys that you win kind of with seniors. Freshmen are really, really good, But if you can get seniors that all buy in and play the right way, you're going to have a chance to win at the highest level. And I think you're seeing that more and more, every division. A lot of older guys. We had some older guys this year on our team, and it's just a maturity level and just a physicality level that you don't usually get from a typical freshman. So I think it's great. I love the way that the tournament is. I think it's unbelievable every night watching teams compete.
Yeah. Well, there's a player that played at Yorktown High School with my son named Mason Cunningham, and he plays football for Hampton Sydney. And he just tore him up in his first 2 years there. And, obviously Division I schools are interested in him. Do you see, like, with kids now, do you think you're going to see more kids use Division III, Division II as a stepping stone, where in the past, when you were playing, definitely before, junior college was more of a stepping stone, or maybe a postgraduate, like a Fort Union was a stepping stone. When you went to a college, generally you didn't think about, I'm going to transfer to somewhere else. It may have worked out that way, but usually that wasn't your intent. Do you see players nowadays looking at their first selection as maybe a stepping stone?
I think definitely. I think it all depends. Every situation is so different. Every family's thought process is completely different. But I think there are kids that, whether it's Division III, Division II, I'd say more so Division II, that go to that level and say, if I can have 1 or 2 good years, it's a chance I can move up. It's a lot of kids that we recruit that maybe went on Division II, and then I saw a couple of them Player of the Years this year, first team all conference. They're automatically in the portal the next day. They're trying to go up. And there's a couple kids in our league that want to try that as well. I think it's harder to go up from our league just because, Division III to Division I is a big jump. But we've had a guy do that. And then he went up there for a year, and it wasn't quite the experience he wanted, and he came back to Shenandoah. So it can happen, but I think kids are definitely more aware of this is a possibility. Do I really want to stay? Or, what's the best fit for me? Yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility moving forward. Yeah.
It's interesting because I would think he's not the kind of player that you would think would move up. You would think the kind of player would move up with maybe like a 6'2", 6'3" tweener that just wasn't seen as Division I, but just ended up being some great scoring machine, quick, but didn't have a height or something. He's the kind of player that's kind of surprising because he's basically just a shooting machine, and you would think they could find that in other places, but I just wouldn't think he'd be the profile of a kid that would move up. And I'm glad it did. It really made a great story in the tournament.
Hey, shooting's elite skill, man. If you can find guys that can shoot, it's just the ultimate equalizer. And if the way that he can shoot, I think is just special.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Kentucky quite thought he could do it like that.
Yeah. So Coach, you're in Shenandoah now. Now, as I was telling you offline, I just moved out to Lansdowne, so I'm only about 25 miles from you. We definitely got to meet and have lunch one of these days. But you grew up in the Franklin's not the country, but it's
kind of the country, man. You're being nice. It's the country.
It's country. So it's away from the Tidewater area, the Hampton Road, which is a basketball hotbed. What is the development like for players in the country now? Now, when I was in school, the kids in the country were tough kids. I mean, kids like from Suffolk, it was John F. Kennedy High School. They won the state every year. There was a team. Suffolk High School won the state. They had a mythical team. A guy named Marcus Elam played for them. The country kids were tough kids. Sometimes, obviously, the schools weren't as big as the city schools, the Richmond and the Tidewater schools, but they had some really good teams. What's the play like in the country now, and how are the kids developing?
Yeah, well, I think it's just a lot less distractions. I think, when I was growing up, I'd go to school, then go to the YMCA, and that's every day, just go back to hoop, hoop every day, then go back home. It's not much else to do, so you either really want to do that or you don't. And for me, basketball was just such a passion and a love that that's all I wanted to do. And I don't think, back in Southampton, there's still not that many opportunities, for kids to really develop their game like that. That's something I'm trying to figure out how to improve, whether it's camps or stuff like that I can help try to give back. We didn't even have camps, when I was back in school. So it's, I think, in Franklin, Southampton, it's just if you really, really want it, there's opportunity, but you have to travel a little bit. I would have to drive an hour to go to AAU to join an AAU team. It's not easy, putting your parents in those positions to do it. So I think you got to live up to that commitment on your end. But I do think, the country kids, you probably get a little bit tougher kid, a little, more focused, a little more passionate, just because there's not many distractions like that.
Well, but also my guess is, you probably get kids in the country who are still playing pickup ball, where in the city it's all structured. It's one-on-one training, it's small group training, and it's AAU. So my guess is in the country, and the kids probably aren't quite as wealthy generally. You're probably getting kids going to the courts and just playing ball like we did in the old days.
Oh, absolutely. We're at the courts all the time. At the courts playing pickup. There ain't no trainers. There ain't none of that stuff. It's you go to the court, you try to text a couple guys to come play and just try to play as much as you can before the street lights come on. But it's definitely something. I think it's a lost art in the game. Kids going outside. We see it with guys that we recruit. Hey, you can go outside. Nah, coach, I ain't going outside. I'll go in the gym. I'm like, come on, man. Build a little toughness there. But it's definitely, I think, a little strength from coming from the country.
Yeah. So when you think about recruiting now, from Shenandoah, and the good thing about country boys is Shenandoah is a nice, it's a beautiful little city. It's near the metropolitan area. It's only an hour drive to DC. I would think the kids from the country would like to go to Shenandoah. When you look at kids there, do you also realize that when you're recruiting them, they may have had less opportunities for development, and therefore they may have a higher upside than some kids that have had the private trainers and have had all the AAU exposure?
Yeah, I think Shenandoah, and I didn't know everything Shenandoah had to offer until I really got here and got immersed in the community and the campus. And I think it's a unique situation with, it's a really special situation. We can offer a lot, not just on the court. Obviously, the basketball, we hope to be really, competitive in the league, but just everything off the court that we've been able to do for our guys. And I think if you can recruit, high level, obviously we want high level talented kids, but we want high level character. Right. And fit in Shenandoah, you have to be a really good student. You have to have that level of character, that goes into a winning program. So I think it's something, we try to pull from all different types of area. We're down in the 757 in Hampton Roads. We're in Richmond. We're in Northern Virginia. We're in Maryland, Pennsylvania a little bit. We got our kid coming in from Jersey next year. So trying to all over just kind of spread the word about Shenandoah.
What do people say when you say you're from Shenandoah? Do they know much? Do they know much about it? Like in the 757? Obviously you've had some down years now. Do you have to really sell what you're doing up there?
Oh, absolutely. I would say when we first got in, nobody even heard of Shenandoah. That's probably the biggest thing we've had to really try to really get out there. You can't drive an hour down the road and not know that Shenandoah is here. When we're a pretty big university, it's not like we got 300 kids here. We got over 2,000 students on campus. We're a little bit bigger for the ODAC, and kids 45 minutes down the road have never heard of us before. So that's something, you got to be able to sell your brand a little bit. And obviously having success helps. Our first year we won 7 games. So now that was the most they won in 10 years. So you can turn a little bit, but then this past year, getting a really good recruiting class in and winning 17 games, now you can see tides turning a little bit. But I think it's just being at every event, recruiting, always having, our Shenandoah gear on that you maybe not as used to seeing at certain events. You see that there now. So I think it's becoming more prevalent or to know what Shenandoah is. But when we got here, it was not good. Nobody even 30 minutes down the road knew that we were here.
So who did you guys follow then? So going playing in Southampton, living in Franklin. Did you guys pay attention to mostly the Tidewater colleges, or were you watching the ACC? Who did you guys follow?
Yeah, for me, I grew up a Carolina fan. Being from there, you don't really have a team. You can kind of pick and choose wherever you want. So I grew up a big Tar Heel fan. Me and my family would go to a Tar Heel game every December. So that's who I grew up cheering for. I think of Tyler Hansbrough, Ty Lawson, all of those guys, Danny Green, Rashad McCants, Sean May. They were kind of my era growing up, and that was the winning era. So I guess we all like winners.
Exactly.
We all kind of grew up watching the ACC. Yeah.
Yeah. Who did you play for at Southampton?
Played for my coach was Will Melby, and he came in my junior year, was there for a couple of years, and then when I moved on, he got out of coaching. I was just assistant principal there.
Okay.
But
And
yeah.
what did you learn from him in terms of coaching?
I think for him it's just he was really good about relationships with players. And it can't just be about on the court. It's got to be everything else. He taught a couple classes, so I'd have him for a couple classes, and it's just somebody you could talk about life with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about players? Who were some of your earliest role models or people that influenced your game in terms of playing?
Oof. I'd say, I learned pretty quickly that I was more of a catch and shoot guy. That was probably my strength moving forward. So I tried to watch a lot of like J.J. Riddick film, when he was at Duke running off screens, catching and shooting, and, tried to emulate some things he could do. Never got to the level that he could do.
Yeah.
But guys like that, I really enjoyed watching it. I could see myself doing, catching and shooting, one dribble pull up, stuff like that.
Yeah. When you're a great shooter like you were, um, does it bias you towards shooters? I mean, when you're are you the kind of coach now that since you were a good shooter, you want to surround your teams has to be surrounded with good shooters, open things up, or the fact that you're a good shooter yourself doesn't influence the way you coach?
I don't think it influences how I coach, but I think it in this day and age, you want to be good in college basketball, you better have some guys that can shoot the ball.
Mhm.
So, everybody we recruit, we hope that at least have good form and everything. Maybe we can work towards, but they got to be able to shoot at a pretty decent amount. And obviously, we want the best shooters we can. But I'm a coach that firmly believes that you want to win at a high level, you have to be able to shoot. You look at all these NCAA tournament games, all the game-winning shots, all of anything, down the stretch, the big-time shots that kind of shift the momentum, they're usually threes. So you got to have guys that can make those shots and really open the floor, and then have some guys that can create.
How important is technique when you're recruiting shooters? Now you got a guy who's scoring a lot of points. He's making the shots, but his shot doesn't look great. How closely do you look at a player's technique when they shoot?
I think it goes into it. I think obviously if they have a good form and all of that, you're gonna feel better about them shooting. But there are some kids that the shot might be kind of a little funky, as we'd say, but it goes in. And if it goes in, you're saying, hey, we'll take that. But typically, they're pretty hard to find. Usually the good form, good technique usually go in a little bit more. I think it's a give and take. Each kid's so different. And identifying their strengths and what they're going to be able to do at the next level may not be what they do best at high school, right? So just really identifying that. But I think the technique does matter. If you see a kid with a little type of crazy technique, you're probably saying he's not a shooter,
Yeah.
right? But then if you're watching a kid and it is a little funky, but he makes a bunch of shots, you're saying, all right, well, let me keep watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how much does that's good. How much does a coach influence technique? Like once you get a player, these players are, average age 19, 20 years old when they get to you. Um, will you tinker with the player's form, or is it too late and you're afraid that's going to cause a little bit of disruption in him? Or will you, if you think you can, especially during the off season, if you can make some strides, you may have him change it and work on it on the off season?
Yeah, I don't think you can do an overhaul change at this point when you get somebody in college, but you can definitely tweak a couple things. Whether that's their finger or how they hold the ball, something like that. Being shot ready. You can definitely tweak some things, but I think it's kind of really understanding that risk reward. Is it worth it to try to get this kid to really change something, or is it just let's get really good at everything else and that'll develop as he gets older? Right.
Yeah.
So I think you can definitely tweak a couple of things, but as a complete shot overhaul, I don't think we can do, the story Steph Curry not shooting outside the paint for a whole summer. I think that's pretty tough to ask a kid to do in this day and age.
Yeah. Well, so coach, you end up going to Delaware State, historical black college. What was that experience like for a white student? Now I know more white students and more foreign students nowadays are going to historically black universities and colleges. What was your experience at Delaware? I understand that you liked it.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I think I still talk to my teammates from there very often. The community there, it was just really inviting, very welcoming. Up in Delaware, that was about 5.5 hours from Franklin, where I grew up, and it was just it was a good experience to experience everything that went along with that. Coming from Franklin, South Alabama, I hadn't experienced a lot of that. But for me, it was an unbelievable experience. I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't have left, if the basketball probably would have been a little bit different, or we would have been able to compete at a little higher level. I probably would never have transferred. And looking back at it, I probably wouldn't be here if I didn't transfer. But for me, it was, just a really good experience to, experience different cultures, get up, meet new people. You're meeting people from all over the world. A lot of people from Delaware State are from Philly, that area. And it was really cool for me to, kind of get immersed in that culture.
Yeah. What was the biggest adjustment when you went from D1 mid-major to Division III? What was the biggest adjustment that you had to make?
As crazy as going to sound, I thought the details, the attention to details was a lot more Division III in the ODAC. I feel like at Division I, you can maybe at certain spots you can kind of get away with talent, and you just kind of go out there and play. And hey, we hopefully we got better guys. But then when you got to this level and learning, from my coach at Virginia Wesleyan, all the details that go into winning. You got to chase this screen, the scouting, everything from that. That was a big adjustment for me because I never had to do it. I kind of went in as a junior feeling like a freshman trying to learn how to play winning basketball. So I think the ODAC, the ODAC's an extremely tough league. The top teams in our league could compete at a mid-major, MEAC level for sure. We had two teams in the Final Four this year. So I think, my biggest adjustment was just obviously speed and stuff was very similar, but just the attention to detail. You had to know every opponent. You had to know what their best strengths were and how to take that away. That was a big adjustment for me.
Were the crowds bigger in the ODAC or at Delaware State when you played there?
I think definitely at Del State, just because it's a bigger size. I think Del State has about 5,500 students, 6,000 on campus. So the crowds are definitely going to be bigger. You're playing in bigger arenas. But I think playing the meaningful basketball, into March at Virginia Wesleyan was something that was really special.
Yeah. Well, so you made the decision to come back to your original decision, and they always say in life sometimes the first decision was the best. But you ended up going to Virginia Wesleyan. Tell us a little bit about the coach. And I know you've already had a couple battles against Coach Macedo. What did you learn from him? What is his coaching style?
He is, as honest as they come. He's brutally honest. He's going to tell you exactly what you need to do, but he's just super, super prepared, super caring. He's going to ask you about your family. He's going to know everything that's going on in your life. But in the basketball piece, you can tell how passionate he is about it. You're going to know every play the other team's running. You're going to defend it. You're going to be super prepared. And then you're just going to go out there and compete, because you can see him, when something happens, he's not the coach that's going to sit down and talk. He's going to scream and he's going to be up moving around. I've never seen him sit down in a game. And that influenced me. I've never sat down in a game yet.
Yeah.
But just a complete family man, brings his family around. Me and him are like family. I was texting with his wife yesterday. It's just, a really special relationship that we have that I'm very fortunate he let me kind of come back to Virginia Wesleyan after telling him no the first time. It's just, again, he's got my foot into every coaching door there. So I'm so thankful learning from him.
Well, you talked about standing up. One thing I don't care much for. Coach stands up all the time, and then when they start getting beat by 15, then they sit down.
Absolutely,
to me, it's
yeah,
almost
you can't do that.
it's almost like you don't want to be seen. I'm like, look, if you're going to stand up with your head, you got to
Yeah.
stand up and get your team back in the game. You agree with me
Absolutely.
on that,
No, I'm
Coach?
with you. I'm with you. You can't do that. I think I've seen him sit down one time, since I've known him. And I think we were having a pretty good game. We might have been up 30 or 40 at that time. And, so we kind of emptied the bench and he sat down. And I looked down and said, "Is something wrong?"
Yeah.
I thought, is he okay? But at that point, nothing else you could do. But I'm with you. I think for me, I want to be up. I want to be in the fight with my guys all the time. So I feel like if I'm sitting down, I'm not in that fight.
Yeah. Was it weird when you had to coach against him? Was it different than playing any other team?
Yeah, it's absolutely different. We know everything each other's going to do. We know exactly how each other thinks. So, typically, we play him. You can't really run any of your plays. They know exactly what you're going to do, and it's just who's better that night, and the small adjustments you can make. But, for us, it's fun coaching against each other. We probably look like spitting images of each other on each sideline, yelling and doing all that stuff. But, at the end, it just sucks that somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. And, he's got the winning part down on us so far, but, eventually we're going to knock him off here.
That's right.
We're
Life
still
is long.
building it.
What was his advice to you when you got the job at Shenandoah?
Just be myself, be myself. I was ready for this. I got hired. I was very fortunate. I got hired at 27 years old.
That's crazy.
In my opinion, I didn't even know that was possible in a college. I thought you had to be at least 30 to do that. And, very fortunate they took a chance on me. And, we'd been around each other at that point for 6 years, 2 years as a player, 4 as a coach, and just be yourself. You're ready for this moment. Just so proud. He really expressed how proud he was of me.
Yeah. Well, you guys make a run your first year to the Final Four. Was that your first time ever been? Had you been to the Final Four in high school?
No, I had not. Nope.
Yeah. So was that a memorable time in your life when you guys make that tournament run?
Oh, absolutely. I think, we had to go through a couple really tough teams. We had to go through Randolph-Macon 3 times, and they beat us, well, excuse me, the 4th time. They beat us 3 straight times, and then in the Elite 8, we had to go to Randolph-Macon and beat them on their home court to get to the Final Four. So that was really special. Everybody rushing the court, cutting the nets down in your rival's gym. That was something that you'll never quite forget. I still got a big picture of that in the office, but going to the Final Four with it, you just create so many memories with your teammates. It's just such a special time. One of the best things I remember is just a bus ride home from that game. The bus ride home with all your teammates. The bus driver gave us the aux cord, and it's just a really good hour and a half drive back to the campus. But I wouldn't change anything about that. Obviously, I think we fell up a little short in the Final Four, but just the bond that you create with your teammates, and you can always go back to campus and be a part of that team, that made it to the Final Four.
Yeah, I think it's great also that Salem has really got that brand. They're really hosting, they're doing the soccer Final Fours. Teams from all over the country are coming to Little Salem for their Final Fours. Coach, what about the demands on? I know you said that there was a higher level of detail than you had at Virginia Wesleyan than you even had at Delaware State. Are the demands on Division III players even more now than they were when you played?
Yeah, I think now just everybody's gotten so good that if you're not constantly working, you're not constantly trying to improve, you're not going to win. I think obviously, at the different levels, coaches can work with their guys more often. We're kind of, as soon as our season ends, we're kind of hands off. They can work with the strength coaches and stuff, but I can't go in the gym and work with them. They really have to take it upon themselves to do that. We can give them a plan and stuff like that, but it's up to them to do it. And they just changed the rule. So usually October 15th is the start date that you can't do anything until that date. So, you got to go in, you got to have 3-hour practices. You got to really jump in. You got to scrimmage in 6 days. So now they've given us allowed to have a couple days before, 15th. So you can kind of ease into it. But it's the same demand. You're going to get kids that either want to work hard or they don't. And the ones that typically work extremely hard typically have a little bit more success. At our level, if you're self-motivated, you're typically going to be a really good player. And it's trying to find those guys that come in and can minimize the distractions on campus. Now, we want them to have fun, but fun in moderation. But when it's time to go, we need you locked in.
Yeah.
I think it definitely is a grind on them, and trying to really just encourage them that it is an all-around year thing if you want to be good.
Yeah. So when did you decide you wanted to be a coach?
I think early on, I think I grew up, my dad was a coach. He coached at a couple of high schools and private schools growing up. So I was always around the game. My brother played basketball, so I was always around, and I knew, whether that was playing or coaching, I just wanted to be around the game of basketball. Really enjoy it. It's a passion. I don't consider this work. I go home and I still can't wait to come back the next day. I just try to get my family to come to campus as much as often just so we can be here. But growing up around my dad, I was just seeing every aspect of it at his practices all the day. I didn't want to do anything else. And then learning, at Delaware State, learning at Virginia Wesleyan. And then my senior year, I tore my ACL, which 13 games in, which kind of jump-started the coaching thing. Because I still had aspirations of trying to play at another level and doing things like that. But when that happened, it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because I probably still would have been hard-headed trying to rehab and still trying to play for another year or two rather than just going and get my foot in the door. So once that happened, I figured, let's go on and start a new path.
Yeah. Well, it's easier these days to get that 5th year than it probably was.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't no option back then. If I had, I would have been there. I would have kept playing.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, since we're on that subject, is it harder to get kids to come back for a 5th year when they have to pay a lot of money to go to school? Like, I would think, if you're paying for it, like a Division I school, they can take other classes if they finish their degree. There's a lot of reasons to come back, but it might be a different decision-making process if you're paying, 30, 40, 50,000, whatever it is, whatever you have to pay. Do you find that a decision-making point?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, usually the biggest factor. Can you not convince somebody, but can you get them to see the value in maybe getting a master's degree? Is that something you really want, or do you not really, is that not really a priority for you? Because it is a lot of money, and I think we're trying to be very creative with that. Is it getting GAs? Is it getting them a job on campus? Different things like that to offset that cost. But that definitely goes into, all the kids' minds. I think it's more prevalent now than it used to be. I remember when I'll take whatever loan, doesn't really matter. I just want to be here and I want to play. Now it goes into the thought process. Well, how much is it going to cost? How much debt am I leaving in? So it definitely makes it a little bit harder, trying to get transfers, for that 5th year, guys to come back. Because that ultimately is what the ultimate conversation is. It's, well, how much is it going to cost for that 1 year?
Yeah. Well, you got into coaching. You were an assistant coach for many years. What what makes a good assistant coach? Um, you know, the head coach always is going to make the ultimate decision, but there's a lot of work to do, and the head coach has got to be a good manager of their assistants if they want to be successful. But what, in your mind, what makes a good assistant coach?
I think first off, it's got to be somebody you enjoy being around. I probably spend more time with my assistant than I do my family. So it's somebody I enjoy being around that we can have conversations and just talk about things other than basketball. But that and just the passion for the program, they got to be committed, and obviously the work ethic. If you're not going to really be able to grind and don't mind getting home late, we all work kind of long hours for low pay in this coaching profession, especially at our level. So if you can find somebody that's willing to do that, that has that passion for it, I think you're going to have a chance to have a really good assistant coach that can really value relationships with the players. That's something that's really important to me. They got to be able to relate and connect with our team, because they're kind of I'm sometimes the bad guy. They got to be the good guy. When I'm getting on guys, they got to be able to go to him and just talk about things. So I think, if you can find somebody that's got all of that in there, you're going to have a really good person, but a really good coach. And then I think at our level, or at every level, it comes down to, can they recruit? Are they willing to spend those long hours on the road, on the phone at night, to really build those relationships, to get kids to come to campus? Because coaching is really fun when you have really good players. It's not that fun when you don't have the best players on the court.
Right. So do you think, Coach, you started really young, you're still really young. In this day of social media and connecting with kids, now, I know we're not going to say anything. I'm an old guy, and we don't want to say the old guys can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But do you think there's something about this generation that sometimes the young coaches can connect with the kids better?
Oh, I think it's a completely different way to recruit. You have to now be on some type of social media just to see what's going on with the kids. That's where they're all posting everything about themselves. You have to be able to be on top of some things, and just to build conversations with them. They don't typically, what we've seen, kids don't really want to talk on the phone. They want to text, they want to do different things. So if you can't adapt to some of that stuff, it's going to be tougher to connect with that kid. And every kid's different, but I think most kids now, they don't really want to talk on the phone like that. They just want to text. You need to go see them face to face. But if I think it's just I think it can help you recruiting if you're on top of that social media stuff and can be talking about things that interest them. Because that's typically, I mean, you see every kid, they're just on their phone watching, scrolling social media. So if you're at least versed in that a little bit, I think it does help you connect and build some, strong relationships with them.
Yeah. I noticed, Coach, you have two assistants, right?
Yep.
It seems like a big job for three people. You guys are probably pretty busy. Is that right?
Oh, it's really busy, but we got two really good coaches. Coach Isaac Blue is my full-time guy. He came in with me when I got here, and he's been unbelievable for us in our program, been able to really help attract really high talent and just help us turn the program around and create a winning culture. And then Coach Avery White, he's our part-time guy right now. He works on campus and helps us out, so he's really busy. He played at Shenandoah before we got here. I coached against him, and didn't really know much about him, when I got here, but something that really stuck with me. To decide to keep him on was just when I got the job, they obviously had a vacancy here for about a month, and he would still show up every day in the office just to try to keep the program going and still recruit student athletes. And I'm saying somebody with that type of passion for the program, somebody we probably need to keep around. So we got up here, we used to go to dinner every night for the first couple of weeks. And really enjoyed having him around. So yeah, now we're extremely busy, but if you want to win, you got to do it.
Yeah.
So I think we're of that mindset.
Coach, you think there's a strong relation between how good a player you are and how good a coach you're going to be?
I don't know. I don't know if you have to be a good player. I would say I was a solid player, looking back at it. I could shoot, but other thing else, it wasn't that great. I knew I wasn't defending that well. But I think you don't have to play to be a good coach. I think you got to have a passion for it and you got to know what you're talking about. You got to watch film. You got to really understand the game and know how to teach it. But I think, I think we see examples, though. It's kind of give or take. Some really good players can't coach because they expect everybody to be able to do what they could do at their level, but that's not what everybody can do, and some coaches get that, So I think it's just really dependent on the situation, but I think it helps if you played just by the fact that you're in the locker rooms, you're in those certain situations, you just kind of learn about the ambiances of, basketball and emotions and stuff like that. So I do think it helps if you played.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I wasn't a great player. I became a pretty good player, but I felt like I had a profile of a coach because I had unfinished business. And I think a lot of good coaches, a lot of great players, they play their basketball and then they're done with it and they did things that they want to do. But a lot of people have unfinished business with the game and they become coaches. And I was that guy. I didn't do it full time like you did.
Mm.
But I had something to prove with my coaching. Now, coach, you come to Shenandoah, you take the Shenandoah job. First of all, you had to be surprised you got the job. 27 years old, and I think you mentioned it before. That's a young head coach. That's a young head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I kind of I wasn't really looking for anything. I knew I was kind of young, still feeling it out, and just an ODAC job, really good league. Let me throw my name in the hat, and had a chance to get an interview, a Zoom, and then an interview on campus. And then when they called me, I was actually I was with my wife, and we just had a baby boy, and he was about 2 months old. And I was actually changing a diaper when they called me. I said, "Hey, you got to take this role. You got to take over. I got to go take a call." And
Wow.
so really excited for that though. Yeah,
Is that one of the greatest moments of your life when you got that call?
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I started crying.
Yeah. That's
Just how
great.
passionate I am of
Yeah.
this, and to be able to take that next step, it was unbelievable for me.
Yeah. Well, one thing I don't think people realize, and it's really hard at college. It's easier in high school, but it is so hard to change a losing culture. You got Shenandoah, you guys had, I think, 14 losing seasons in a row, I believe. And even before that, I think it
Yeah.
was four more losing seasons before you had another winning season. So, at the last 20 seasons, you guys had two winning seasons. And it's tough to change culture. First of all, losing becomes something that people get used to doing, unfortunately. But not only that, it's hard to quickly change things. It's hard to quickly get people. All these things take time. So, how are you able to change that culture and also learn how to be a head coach? Because learning how to be a head coach it's different. When you're an assistant coach, you're only coaching certain aspects of the game. Head coach, now you're responsible for everything. How are you able to both change the losing culture and learn how to be head coach in the same year?
Yeah, it hasn't always been easy. I think learning to be a head coach was something my first year. You're going through everything, and I think that's when I leaned heavily on my college coach, Coach Macedo, of just what would we do in this type of situation? And I think I really asked myself that a lot. From learning from other coaches. And then in year two, it's now well, this is what I want to do in this situation. Just very more confident, comfortable, and I know what I'm doing, and I've been through it before. Right. And I think to change the culture, you just have to get people to believe. You have to get people to buy in. And obviously, you have to get a little lucky in recruiting, which I think we were very fortunate to get some recruits that we did this early to really buy into what we want. And, but it's make everybody a part of your team, not just your team, but everybody on campus. When we do camps, we order an extra 100 T-shirts and just go around campus and give them out. We invite everybody to certain things that we're doing and make sure our guys are going to speak to people on campus. You just have to get people to really buy into the culture that you want. And, once you get the players playing a fun style of basketball that people enjoy watching, I think it can change a little bit. One of the best compliments I've ever gotten, our first year, I think we lost a game. And, I heard from some people, Shenandoah plays hard every game now. You can't tell if they're winning or losing because they play hard to the end of the game. And I'm saying that's what you have to do to win, but that's not something they've always been used to.
Yeah.
So it's just, getting people to buy into playing hard and playing a brand that they want to watch. I think it happens pretty quickly. And we probably changed things a little quicker than we thought was going to happen, but we're not mad about that. Now it's just, can you sustain it? We
Yeah.
won 17 games this year. I thought we probably left a couple out there, but the culture still isn't quite where we want it to be. It's a lot better, but it's not where we want it to be. And I think next year, going into year three, one more recruiting class, I think we'll have our culture really, really strong and be able to take a next step. But, we want to be able to sustain this success.
Yeah, you're like, they're saying that you guys play hard. In your mind, you're like, well, that's a given. So, but it still makes you feel, it makes you, it makes you feel good. So what were you able to say to these kids, to get them to come so quickly? Because I mean, now I think it's going to get easier for you, and I'm sure you're already seeing that. But you guys have lost for so long, and then you're a new coach, you're a young guy. What did you say to them to get them to come? What were you able to sell them on to get them to come to Shenandoah?
Yeah, well, I can't give you all my secrets.
No, 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 no.
You know, I know the
Just give me
ODAC
the big
might be
picture.
watching this a little bit. I can't tell them that. But for us, it's obviously the relationship piece. It's being a part of something special that you're gonna get to see something built from the ground up. Not everybody gets to do that. You can go to these established programs and be a really good piece, or you can come here and be something that's a cornerstone, for many, many years to come. And I think we've had guys really buy into that, and I think they've connected with myself and our staff, and just offering everything that we can at Shenandoah. Here in the ODAC, everybody's got really good basketball. Everybody's got a really good program, really good coaches. But what else are they offering? For us, we've been able to connect with some really good, professors and special people on campus that have allowed us to do a lot of different things. Give you an example. We're sending guys, just this past year, we had guys work the NBA All-Star game. We had guys work the Indy Classic, which Purdue versus Arizona. Our guys were on the court working the game with the Indiana Pacers people. We worked a Wizards game 3 weeks ago versus Celtics. Got to be on the court working the game, with the game operations people, with director of operations. We've worked Commanders games, Ravens games. We even worked a Beyonce concert. So these are things that you're going to come out of here with a resume built. It's going to be a really competitive resume that's going to help you get a job. It's why you're paying a lot of money to be here. It's our job to invest in you and make sure that you come out of here being able to have a network built and know how to communicate in those rooms when you get in there. So that's something we really try to sell the whole picture here. Obviously, we hope basketball is going to be a really good, bright spot, and they're going to love playing at Shenandoah. But for us, you got to want everything. You can't just be about basketball and think you're going to be successful here.
Well, Coach, that's an amazing job. It's an amazing achievement. I haven't seen that very often, and I've been a sports fan all my life. What about the way you play? Now, I would think it'd be a little complicated. You're going to be heavily influenced by Macedo because not only did you play for him, you coached for him, but you're also going to be in his conference. You don't want to do everything he does anyway. And plus, I'm sure you have your own ideas. So how did you arrive at exactly how you're going to play?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for us, obviously influenced by that, but I think I do want to be a more of a fast-paced team. I like to be aggressive. Everything we do needs to be aggressive, right? We don't want to sit back and do things like take a back seat. So I think for us, it's really trying to figure out our personnel. Our first year, I didn't think we quite had the pieces we needed in certain spots. So I thought we had to play really, really fast. We got to really pressure on defense. We got to create more possessions. 'Cause we're probably lacking some things in some certain areas. And then this year we were able to have a little bit more talent. So for us, it's kind of a give or take. We want to play full court man. We want to be aggressive. I don't always want to be the coach that runs a play every time down. It just depends on our situation. Give you an example. We had some guys that could really create this year, and you just need to get them in certain spots and they can go do their thing. But by the end of the year, we had one game, we had 10 guys out with the flu. Well, we need to walk the ball up and we need to run a play every time down. We need to make sure everybody, some new guys in some new spots, we need to be really, really confident in what we're doing. So for us, it changes a little bit game to game, but we were always going to err on the side of being aggressive. We want a full court man-to-man team that, just has a different hunger and mentality about them rather than most teams.
Well, when I look at your players, Jalen Williams, he's a Potomac guy, local guy for me, a graduate student, averaged 16 points a game and 6 rebounds. He had a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. His stat line seemed like he had a tremendous year.
Yeah, Jalen's an unbelievable player. Jalen's one I alluded to earlier. He played 3 or 4 years here at Shenandoah before we got here, graduated, and then we came in from our first year, and 3 days into classes, he left to go to Longwood. He went to Longwood, was probably promised some things that didn't quite, pan out, but I was a part of a winning program at Longwood for a year. And then really just that summer said, Coach, I want to play. And so he came back to us and had a tremendous year in his 6th year. He was our leader. He is a higher level player. He really is. But he's an even better person. He's a great teammate, great character. He's somebody that, one of he's a second team all conference player this year, which we haven't had many in Shenandoah's history. But, I just really tried to sell him on everybody knows you score points. Do you want to be known as the guy that just scored points? Or you known as a winner? And he came back this year and, led the program to new heights it's never been. So now he's going to be remembered as a winner, but he was very special. We wouldn't have been able to do what we could have done this year without him.
Yeah. Well, Coach, you have two underclassmen that are coming back to you next year. Nick Pullum is a junior, 10 points, 5 rebounds, and Joshua Stevens or Stephen?
Steven, yeah.
Stephen, sophomore, 8 points, 3 rebounds. Sounds like you have a pretty good core to rebuild this season as well.
No, absolutely. We got a bunch of really good guys coming back. I think, Josh, just to talk about him real quick, he's been, had probably had an unbelievable career so far. He's made about 3 or 4 game-winning shots, at the buzzer that, sometimes we got to make sure he forgets about those. But a really good player, can do a lot of things, just trying to get him to focus on defense a little bit. But, we got a really good core coming back, and I think, having the success that we've had, now they've tasted it a little bit. And that was our whole goal. Let's get to Salem for the first time ever. We got to go to the conference tournament in Salem. We won a game to get there, a home playoff game for the first time ever. So they've tasted winning, and now they just want to work even harder. They want to be, make sure our culture gets even tighter. But we need a next group to come in. We need some really talented freshmen, or whether that's 1 or 2 transfers, to come in and help as well.
Yeah, Coach. Not only did you win a game, you beat number 9 Lynchburg in that game. Is that true, Coach?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a really big win for you. And I think it was actually more special because you started out the season on fire. You're 11-0. You beat Guilford. You got to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So I think you alluded to, you guys, you had some sickness. Some kids were sick and stuff. But so it was nice to kind of end the season on such a strong note.
Yeah, absolutely. Starting off how we did, coming out the gates that hot, we probably not everybody probably expected that one. But then I think, you start getting into the ODAC play a little bit, it's different. Teams know what you're doing a little bit, but it's just better, higher quality players, and we were battling some things at the time, but we were still a team that's still trying to figure things out. Our whole first starting 5, it was the first year ever playing together. So we had to battle through some adversity with that. And I think, I think we went on a 3-game losing streak after that good start. But then we were able to right the ship a little bit. And, once you're in the ODAC, anything can happen. And to have our first home playoff game, to beat Lynchburg, who I coached with their coach as well, love him to death. But, it's always got to go through somebody I don't want to coach against, to get to where we want to get. And then to go to the quarterfinals in Salem for the first time ever, where we lost number 3 in the country, Randolph-Macon, in overtime. That was, I think, just kind of opened the floodgates for what this program can do. It can compete on that stage every single year. It's just some things we got to put in place.
How did the student body react to your incredible start to the season? The win over Guilford, the win over Lynchburg. They hadn't seen this kind of success in a while. How did they react to it?
It's unbelievable. The support that we've got from the student body, from all the people on campus, our president. It's just it's been really rewarding to see them really buy into that. And I remember last year having to go around campus the day of the game, handing out T-shirts, begging people to come to the game. You don't really have to do that as much now. We still do it, but you don't really have to. You're going to get a good crowd coming out. And, I think they just see that, we're doing things the right way, that our guys are really good guys on the court, but really good guys off the court. And they just want to support them, because they play the right way. So I think the campus community is really buying into that. And let's be honest, everybody likes winning. Exactly. So you're going to win some games, and more people are going to show up.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you have a player that I liked a lot. I thought he was a real sleeper at Annandale named Samuel Daly. Yeah. And he grew late, and he in the senior year, he became a really nice player. And it's funny, when I was preparing for this interview, I wondered what happened to him. He had another really good player on his team. Then I'm going to James Madison. I don't think he's playing. But how is Samuel developing there at Shenandoah?
Wow, that's a small world that you know Sam. Sam's an unbelievable kid, love his parents, really great family. He's going to have a chance to be a really good player in this program. I think he's a late bloomer. Yeah. I think he came on, he played some spot minutes for us as a freshman, but still learning how to play. But I think you can already see it since our season's ended, the jump that his body has made just in the weight room. He's going to have a chance to be a really good player for us moving forward. 6'3", strong, can shoot it, athletic, just has all the tools. And just a really good kid that we're glad that we have here. Probably got a little lucky to get him here, that he is a late bloomer. I think he's going to really develop into something special.
Yeah, he went from 6 foot to 6'3" his senior year, and you can see like moments of brilliance with him, and you're like, hey, that kid is going to play. I'm glad that he stuck with it. And I also want to shout out, I'm really good friends with Liz Pike, soccer coach. I don't know if you saw my interview with Liz.
Absolutely, I spoke to her this morning. Yeah.
Okay, she's probably going to talk bad about me because that's how Coach Liz is sometimes. But I love Coach Liz. She's an awesome woman. But also, my son has a good friend named Dominic Suwak. He's on the tennis team at Shenandoah. So you may not have met Dominic, but he's doing really well in tennis. So I wanted to shout him out. So Coach, when you look at next year, and I'll let you go with this. I'll let you end with this. What are some of your goals? You had a very successful season, and so what kind of goals do you set for yourself going forward? I mean, how do you approach this success, and how do you build on this success? What is your frame of mind for next year?
Yeah, for us, we got to dive even harder into our work. We don't want to be a team that, hey, we made it one year and then we take a step back. We got to improve on a lot of areas. But I think obviously we got to add a really good recruiting class in that can come in and make us a little bit deeper and a little more talented at certain spots. But, really getting our guys to understand, it's an expectation to get to Salem now, not just to get there one year and take a couple of years off. It's an expectation for us to be in Salem, competing in the quarterfinals every year, and what that means to this program, that how everything changes when you do that. So for us, it's we won 17. That's great, but it's a new team, it's a new year, everything changes. You're not guaranteed that success. So it's just really trying to create that hunger again, and making sure guys really try to change things that maybe have held us back in the past. But I think we're excited about it. I can't wait till October to really dive in the gym and coach with my guys again. I hear all the stuff that they're doing now, and it's just, it's a really good group moving forward. And, I think Shenandoah has a chance to be really, really special. If we can keep guys just doing things the right way all the times, I think we'll be in position to have that consistent success.
Well, Coach, I know you have a young family. It's a beautiful place to raise a young family as well. One of these days, if I get out there, we got to get some lunch. Or if you're ever recruiting in the Leesburg area,
absolutely. I'm gonna hit you up. Now I need to get out there. I have 2 little kids. I got our oldest Mason just turned 2 last month, and then I have a 10-month-old Miles.
Wow.
So this season was really tough, not sleeping a lot. Didn't really sleep a lot, but it's really cool now that you can talk a little bit and know what's going on. So it's really cool. But if I'm in Leesburg, we're gonna get together.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. Did your wife know what went into being the wife of a coach? Did you have a conversation with her before you set off on this?
She knew. I mean, it was always going to be some type of basketball, but I'm really lucky that she gets it. As long as I communicate early, she's cool with me going recruiting, getting back late, doing stuff like that. So I got really fortunate with that. I couldn't imagine, just being with or having a relationship with somebody and they don't get coaching. It wouldn't be very fun when you got late nights and just the time commitment that it takes to be in a winning program and to do things like that. So very fortunate with the choices I've made.
Yeah. Well, Coach, you got an extremely bright future. Congratulations on an amazing season. And again, look forward to meeting you. And I really appreciate you taking time to talk to me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Really enjoy this. Anything, we can do to help, more than happy to do that. And just really appreciate you giving Shenandoah basketball a chance to, just spread our name out there a little bit more.
Oh, it's great. I can't wait to see you guys play. Let's keep in touch, Coach.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, buddy. Take care. Have a good day.